In this episode of TiPS, what happens when the map, the one source of truth for NG911, is just wrong? I'm talking about polygon drift, boundary bleed through, LVF misfires, and an ECRF lookup that sends your units across town like they're on an unwanted sightseeing tour. If you've ever wondered how a single misaligned line can topple an NG911 call flow, stick with me, because The Day the Map Was Wrong is coming up next on TiPS, Today in Public Safety.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Here's your host, Fletch, with today's tips.
Picture this. A 911 call hits your ECC, but the map thinks that the caller is one building over, one block off, or my personal favorite, in the neighboring jurisdiction entirely. Your CAD routes it wrong, your responders go the wrong way, and the ECRF shrugs like, hey dude, not my circus, not my polygon. When the map lies, nothing else matters. Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety. This is Fletch, I'm an ENA certified ENP, and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I bring you the latest, sharpest, occasionally panic-inducing insights into emergency communications. Today we're diving into a topic that hides in plain sight, but has the power to wreck an NG911 call in seconds. The Day the Map Was Wrong. GIS cascading failures in NG911. If you've ever trusted your layers, your polygons, or your boundaries, today's episode just might bruise your confidence a little, but it's a story that's gotta be told. Alright, so you know how NG911 is supposed to work? You dial 911, the location validation checks the address, the ECRF uses GIS boundaries to decide who gets the call, and then PSAP routing happens in milliseconds. Beautiful, elegant, mathematically pristine. Until it isn't, because all of those layers, the address points, road center lines, provisioning boundaries, service polygons, form a stack of dependencies. And when one shifts, everything downstream wobbles like a Jenga tower somebody bumped into with their hip. So let's walk through the four horsemen of GIS failure. Number 1, polygon drift. When the lines don't stay where you left them. Now, GIS folks will swear that polygons are static, but we both know software updates, reprojections, sloppy merges, mismatched coordinate systems, and suddenly your boundary has wandered 8 feet east like it's out for a stroll. Now, 8 feet doesn't sound like much unless you're standing between two apartment buildings, or the jurisdictional line is literally in the hallway. The result calls misroute. Responders roll the wrong way, and everyone blames the carrier. Number 2, an LVF mismatch. The address exists, but not for your system. Address points might be updated weekly, road center lines monthly, and MSAG conversions yearly. But your LVF? That's whenever someone remembers. This creates the NG911 version of the check is in the mail. Yeah, that address exists somewhere, but just not in the database that's doing the validating. So the LVF rejects it, or worse, it validates to the wrong point. Number 3, ECRF boundary overlaps. The GIS equivalent of two PSAPs fighting over custody. Overlaps cause more chaos than gaps, and here's why. If two polygons overlap, the ECRF is going to pick whichever one comes first in the priority stack. If none are aligned, you get non-deterministic routing results. So if counties don't coordinate, calls start pinballing. You ever see a call bounce between A to B to A to B? That's GIS purgatory. Number 4, broken topology. Gaps, slivers, holes, and tears. This is the nightmare fuel. A 3-foot gap between polygons, boom. The caller falls into no man's land. A 1-inch sliver polygon left over from a bad merge? Congratulations. That tiny geometry artifact is now a PSAP. Not metaphorically, but literally. So what creates a true cascading GIS failure? One tiny upstream inconsistency means LVF rejects, means ECRF routes wrong, means that CAD auto-assigns wrong, means that responders drive wrong, and it means mutual aid that we didn't need, ultimately a supervisor yelling, and everyone blaming the carrier. But the carrier blames the vendor, and the vendor blames the geometry. You see, in NG911, the map isn't just a map. It's the routing engine. So when the map lies, the system lies with it. So what can ECCs and GIS teams do today? Well, first is weekly boundary diffs. Automate the comparison between last week's boundaries and this week's. Second is topology rules enforced, not suggested. That means no gaps, no overlaps, no slivers. Zero. Not close enough, but zero. Third is LVF ECRF sync schedules. If they're not syncing from the same authoritative data sets, you're already losing. Fourth is vendor accountability. If your LVF ECRF provider won't give you a topology report, then that's the report. And fifth is PSAP boundary summits. That means quarterly meetings where jurisdictions make sure everyone's polygons touch. No excuses, no substitutes, and no errors. And that wraps up today's episode of TiPS, Today in Public Safety. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. For more updates and insights, remember to follow me at Fletch911. And check out 911tips.com for the full archive of previous episodes. My blogs are on Fletch.tv, and you can check out my consulting site at Fletch911.com. Stay safe. Thanks so much for what you do every day, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
You've been listening to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Hosted by Fletch and available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Catch past episodes on 911tips.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and remember to join us each week for the latest on NG911. I am Spider Harrison, the official 911 voiceover dude. Catch me on Sirius XM on various channels, including 90s on 9, the 10 spot, and on the Weekend Countdown on Hits 1. Or don't regret it for the rest of your life. Either way, I'm good.